What's up, everybody? It's the 30's perspective, and we back at it again.
Yep.
Yeah. I got Chris on here,
Mm-hmm. As always.
as always. Lady Leash, what's up, girl?
Hey y'all.
We missed you last episode.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I got real life stuff going on.
Yeah, you do. Well, we're glad you're back. And Sakina will be joining us later on. All right, we got some topics, y'all. We got hella topics.
Yeah, man.
Let's start with something light and fluffy.
Oh.
How do you guys feel about men getting plastic surgery? And to our one and only male potty that's on tonight, would you ever get any kind of plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery? And before you answer, shout out to the Miyoki cup. I finally got mine. Thank you, Alicia. It came tonight, so I'm using it, and I'll let y'all know what I think.
Yes, do that, sis. I told you.
I sent my mom one too. So
I ain't getting no cup.
We'll see how long my drink stays cold.
I ain't getting no cup. What if
when
I
did you
cups?
get it?
Today. Look how pretty the box is.
I know.
So beautiful.
I was going to say, I'm about to show you mine.
Yeah, put it on there.
Hold on.
I feel like this is premium content. This should be on OnlyFans. What are we doing?
You so silly. Hold on. There she is.
It's beautiful.
I can't with y'all.
That's the one my mom got.
Hey,
I can't with y'all.
So some of us are having dinner, so you guys may see us eating. Just act like you see it, okay?
Act like you don't know.
Act like you don't know. All right, back to our light and fluffy.
Yeah.
Men in cosmetic surgery. How do we feel about it?
Listen, I'm all about making yourself feel good. For real, for real. If that makes you feel good, then by all means. However, it's not really in my place to say anything about somebody, wanting to change some attribute of their body that they don't like.
But see, the more we get into not talking about it and just letting people do whatever, this is why we got to the point where pronouns are prevalent. I mean, it's you got to draw the line somewhere
to the maximum capacity,
right? Because now you get plastic surgery, you get your nose changed up. Now you're like a real puppy in the face, right? Like people are gonna start doing stuff that's nonsensical. So now you got to draw a line somewhere, right? I think basic stuff, scar tissue, things like that is reasonable. But when you get as a man anyway, those levels of insecurity shouldn't exist there. Like, that's insane, dude. Like, no, stop. You got to think if Seal could pull Heidi Klum at the time, that man didn't get no plastic surgery, and he looked like a burnt down matchstick. Like, let's just be honest. Seal was not an attractive human being. He could sing, but he looks like
I understand, but
midnight.
like, I look at it this way. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do with their body. And if a man feels insecure, like I think that's what we need to talk about is that, we put our limitations on things for women. However, with men, it's almost like they're not allowed to feel or be insecure about something on their body. I mean, look at what men do. They work out. Mm-hmm. They'll go to the extremes of working out to look right for a woman because they want the abs, because they said that's what women like. However, some men aren't able to lose that weight appropriately and may want to spice up their body. Like me as a woman, I like a man with a little butt. I do. I like when they nice and plump. I just want to squeeze it. But that's me. But like, some men are insecure in that way because it's like, oh, these women go for these men that have abs and nice bodies, and I can't get that. They lose weight, but then it's all flabby. They can't do nothing with it. So, cosmetic surgery also includes removal of skin and, looking nice in that way. So I look at it as, men have insecurities too. And I think that we as women should also, support them in the way of wanting to feel and look nice. I mean, yes, there's always, like as women, we've all seen women that go too far with plastic surgery. We all see it, and it's just, it doesn't look nice. And however, men can do the same thing, go too far. But I think that having cosmetic surgery, if you feel insecure about a certain part of your body, I don't see the problem. I mean, look at Sylvester Stallone. He got Botox all in his cheeks. He looked plastic. Like
Right.
he looked like he don't have no emotions.
But see, that's a
Like,
Hollywood aesthetic too. Hollywood promotes
okay. I'm okay with it in moderation, depending on what it is. Like if for me, if a man is in Hollywood and he want to get his abs done, I'm all right with that. If you want to kind of clean up your hairline, I'm all right with that. Now, I don't know that. I know that I won't date somebody that wears a man weave. But if you an old man and you want to wear your man weave and it look nice, do your thing, brother.
See, but again,
right.
but from a male's perspective, honestly, just to kind of clear it up, men don't go to the gym for women. We don't care about that for y'all. For us, it's about us getting healthy. I mean, there are some men who do that, but they fall under some other categories when you have those real conversations. And that's the problem. We're not talking about it. I mean, are you able to do it because you're an adult? Yeah. Is it something you should do? No, because honestly, even us, for the most part, we promote natural bodies, right? I don't think that we're all in here like get a BBL, get this, get that. No, I don't promote that for females like that. For real. I say be content with you because I look at Aaliyah, right? Aaliyah was a twig, but she was gorgeous, and her personality is what it was. Nowadays, people compensate with aesthetics because their personality sucks. So even for dudes, it depends. I mean, if you're getting lipo or whatever, because like you said, you can't necessarily get rid of certain things. If it's a health concern, I think that that's fine. But for the superficial aesthetic, it's not worth it because then you wind up having more complications than what you went into initially. And again, if we're going to keep promoting plastic, how far is too far? You said it. Some people go too far, and as women, y'all don't even check the women before they go too far. You ain't like, sis, stop right now. Stop. No, it's not my place to say nothing. It absolutely is our place to say something. If you are a genuine person who's concerned about that individual, it is absolutely your place to say, you starting to look crazy. Like the chick that tried to look like Angelina Jolie, but looks like the corpse skeleton bride or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you see it, or the woman who got the plastic surgery on her face and then it like all swelled up and lumped up because it just didn't heal right. Right. So there comes a point where if you see it, say something. Little Kim used to be gorgeous. Now she looks like the aliens from Toy Story. Like, stop. Somebody should have said, Kim, I get it. You struggle with your appearance. Because I mean, they reference it in the Biggie movie and stuff like that. She's never felt super secure. That's why also she was overly sexual too. Because she knew how to use the things that people appropriated from her. So it's the same thing for men. Stop trying to fit this narrative. Be you. If you look crazy, you look crazy. You got a lazy eye, get the LASIK, get that thing fixed. But still, it's the simple things.
Okay. Let's get into this. Shaq said men never open up to a woman. Because if you open up to a woman, she's going to use it against you later on.
100%.
So his advice was for men to never, ever open up to a woman. What's y'all's thoughts?
That's bull.
Go ahead, Leash. Tell us why.
Because, like, when you're okay, so I'm not saying open up to every woman that you see.
Right.
Tell them
Right.
your whole life story, right?
Right.
But when you're with somebody and then men wonder why their relationships don't work. Oh man, I don't know why she acting crazy. It falls back on us. But meanwhile, have you been open and honest with her? Have you opened up and been vulnerable with her? Like, if that's your life partner, if that's your person you want to marry, if that's the person that you love, then I don't see why men can't open up to women. Shaq didn't open up to Shawnee. Like, he didn't. That's why their relationship was the way it was. You could tell that he held back a lot. And like when I watched his documentary, you can tell that like he wasn't open and honest with that woman. So a lot of struggles and stuff that he was going through, instead of her being there to be able to support him, it seemed like he just kind of, and I'm only talking, I'm assuming, I can't say for sure, but you know, we all have emotions in the same way that we just talked about like the plastic surgery and
Mm-hmm.
having like this cosmetic surgery and stuff that goes on. Like, you have to be able to be secure even in your relationship, and that
Mm-hmm.
men are often like in the relationship, they're set aside and they have to put on this persona to be hard or be, can't show no emotions, or I gotta be tough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't have to feel that way with the person that you are with. And that's my opinion on it. And I think that men should be more vulnerable with women. I think that relationships would work and or last longer, due to not being so closed off to their emotions.
I mean, from experience, you know, being vulnerable has its drawbacks because you can be completely honest with somebody and you realize that they're not built to be your partner. You can lay it all out there, say what it is, and then you see that person collapse under that pressure too, where it shouldn't feel like pressure. But if I'm showing up for you, how come you can't show up for me, right? So you have that aspect of it, but then you go into the divorce rate, separation rate, hookup culture, right? You could be with somebody for 15 years. They can know everything about you. And then that ends, and say it ends unfavorably. Say it ends a little messy, right? You see it. These people run to the internet, tabloids, whatever level of popularity you might have, and business is out there. They spill the tea. And it's like, that was a vulnerable moment when we were together. I gave you this information. And as soon as it's over, you now take this and weaponize it. And then you constantly hear if a man responds to a woman, it's instantly they feminize them and say, oh, why are you arguing with her? Why are you doing this? Wait a minute. Disrespect is disrespect. So why is it that there's a bias for a woman to be messy and petty and all these things, but then a man goes to just simply lay facts? And he's now drugged through the mud for saying, hey, if you're honest with her, she's going to use it and weaponize it. Well, we've seen it. So it's not saying that men want to stay closed off. It's saying the track record that women have displayed has been the second that you give this sensitive information, it's used against you. Even in petty arguments and relationships, you've seen it. Somebody will give a female information and it's like, that's why your mama got 8 toes. It's like, yeah, I told you that because I need you to know what's going on. So it's like they'll take these childhood traumas or these instances, and you're trying to give them the little stuff first. See, again, you want to give them all of these vulnerabilities, but what a man tends to do is they'll give you something and see how you handle it the first time. And what you do in arguments is the second you get the opportunity to weaponize it, you spew venom. You start throwing it in his face. That's why you ain't got no job. That's why you this. That's why it's that. Da, 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 da. So now we're getting all these blows where you say, I should be at home and be at peace. Yes, absolutely, I should. But the second I gave you my vulnerability and you got angry or you didn't like the direction I gave you or the information that was given, now I'm fighting the traumas that I've experienced in the partner that I'm with. So now you become my enemy. You can't see it any other way. And this is where, we have this battle of the sexes that we've still been going through, because a lot of times women don't understand the power dynamic here, right? If men were designed for one thing and women were designed for something else, and we say, men are supposed to be the stronger ones, the one who go to war, the protector, the provider, all these things. If we're built for that, if we're built for war and we're built for conflict, and you bring conflict, you can't say that this man is soft. He is functioning in his programming, in his design, to say, hey, you're now my enemy and I have to crush you, because that's how primordially we were wired to function. So when we give this information and you use it as a weapon, our first instinct is now to destroy you because you've done this and you're firing at me. So the fear of that vulnerability is, how can you use it against me? Especially if we break up, you get with somebody else. What if me and dude don't get along? Now you're funneling this information through pillow talk. We see it in all the reality shows that we see now. Culturally, that's how this is used.
Okay, so I think it does happen. I also think it's counterproductive to a healthy relationship. So you have to be cautious. One thing that, in my opinion, there are a lot of men who do not assess properly who they're going to get in a relationship with and marry. And, you have to pay attention to who you are engaging with, especially in something like a relationship or marriage. How do they handle conflict? How do they handle arguments? Are they vindictive? Do they always have some get back in their spirit? Like, are you paying attention to how she's behaving? Because she told you past stories about when she bust the windows out such's car, and does she fight with words? How is she composing herself in those instances? Because that's how she's going to engage with you. So not every, he didn't say every woman, but not every woman handles conflict in that way. And when you're in that dating scene, you need to pay attention to, how is she handling this? What's her spirit like?
Right.
Some people will use your vulnerability against you to win a fight. They absolutely will. But if you get into a relationship and you think you can carry on without opening up, and you want it to be a healthy relationship,
right,
it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. I know I can't be with nobody that don't open up with me. So I just think it's giving bitter, it's giving a little damaged, it's giving a little toxic. And he might need to work through some stuff that he's been through, because maybe he has definitely been through this. So, and then you're advising other people to be that way. You got to hold your cards close sometimes. Most times, rather. You got to hold your cards close most of the time. But with that one person who's the one, especially your wife, you guys need to both be able to open up with one another.
I have a question, because even Sakina can answer it too. As women, then, how do you hold accountable the women who have made it difficult for men to open up? And then how do you make it easier, especially in this generation? Now, our generation is slightly different, but in this generation, how do we... I hate this word because
what's the first question again? Repeat the first question. I missed it.
Oh crap. What did I say?
It was loaded.
How do you make it? How do we hold the women accountable
who behave that way?
Yes.
Correct. And then how do we make it easier for men to be able to open up?
Okay, we're gonna ponder on that. Let me get Sakina.
Hey.
Hey, Sakina. Hey, girl.
What's up?
And then we'll come back to Chris's question because it's a good question we need to answer.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna let you hit the first and the second topic real quick. First topic was how you feel about men who have cosmetic surgery. Second topic is Shaquille O'Neal said that men should never open up to women because they're going to use it against them later on. So he said men never, his advice to men was never open up to a woman. So I'm going to give you the floor real quick and then we'll hit up Chris's question.
Okay. The first one, cosmetic surgery, for me, it's a no-go for anybody, period. But for a man, it's kind of, I don't know. I can't describe it. It's a little questionable. Like I'm questioning your whole being if I hear you got cosmetic surgery. Now, if it's something that, you have messed up teeth and you got a whole new set of teeth, that's one thing. But like you getting butt injections, who you trying to appeal to? I'm just saying.
Exactly.
So the second one, I think it's something that a lot of men think don't open up to women because the person who was closest to them, most likely, in most cases, the woman who was closest to them or who was supposed to be closest to them wasn't trustworthy. So in turn, they don't trust women. I don't agree with that at all because not all women are the same. And you have to use that discernment to weed out the ones who genuinely care about you and want to be there for you in that manner.
Thanks. All right, so we're gonna answer Chris' question. The way I hold women accountable these days is if a friend is telling me something and that I don't like, I'm gonna say, well, now you know that wasn't right. You know you shouldn't have did blah blah blah. Or I'll put it like, all right, you want me to keep it real with you? Here's what I think, and I'm gonna put it to him like that. And then now we have the beauty of social media where I can type in the comment section of, hey, this was foul, this and that. And then when it comes to giving men a safe space to be vulnerable, well, I feel like I provide a safe space to both men and women to be vulnerable with me by just listening, asking open-ended questions. That's just genuinely important to me in general. So I try to let people finish what they gotta say without cutting them off. I'm not always great at it, but I'll try to just listen, ask some open-ended questions, and then literally ask, how do you feel? Well, what's your plan? What are you gonna do about that? Because sometimes we get so quick into giving advice that we don't ask the person, how do you feel? So
for me, I look at it as, it's not necessarily my place to correct these women and hear me out and hear why I say this. I learned a lot of stuff from my grandma and my mother, right? Those people that, have lived in these relationships that, at one time women were, put in their place, right? And that, women were, the household keeper, where, men were these things that Chris was talking about. So, my thing to them, most women that go through something like that is, have you talked to your mother or your grandmother lately about how to handle relationships? Because, like, my advice, it doesn't matter what advice I give somebody, if they're looking at me as a friend, yeah, I have some type of input in their life. However, it's their meaningful relationships. And I understand that the mothers and grandmothers aren't the same as when we, us growing up. However, the only piece of advice I'd ever give people is, the same thing that my grandmother gave to me. She said, if you want to keep a healthy relationship, you keep everything in house. She's like, you don't tell nobody your business. And she said, and I mean nobody. She said, you always keep that to yourself. And she used the whole, kind of brought it back to like modern day and said that, you got these women that are out here looking to take your man. She said, so what you're lacking in, or what your man thinks that you're lacking in, some other woman will pick that up. So I think that like we got away from, that old time, like hearing and listening to the folks before us, and because we're so stuck that like, oh, I ain't gonna be my grandma where my grandfather was out here sleeping with how many different women and have how many different families. Instead of actually looking at that but actually listening to the advice that they had to give, men back in the day, like they had what they call is their main hoe. But that was the one that they could go to and talk to without having to worry about their information going anywhere. That is the person that they could talk to and be vulnerable with, where these other women were not. So like understanding where men can have that open dialogue with women, I think they missed that. Like that whole generation just missed it. And it's, to be honest with you, Chris, to answer your question directly, I wouldn't know how to even properly, address any women who do that. Like I don't affiliate and associate myself with these women, these type of women in my circle. So it's really hard for me to try to address these women because I don't deal too well and messy. So for me personally, I couldn't even answer that question for you because I typically don't deal with women like that. I cut that negativity out my life because it's like, girl, I'm at the phase of my life where I want a healthy relationship and a family. And it's really hard for me to try to correct somebody that I'm not around to correct. If you catch my drift. So
right.
I think holding them accountable, it's hard to do on a wide spectrum. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if we're going to do it on a wider spectrum, that open like dialogue is going to be what's going to hold them accountable. Because once that dialogue is open, they're going to be forced to like really look at the situation. And sometimes it may take a woman like one of us to be like, hey, let's look at it from a different standpoint. What if it happened to you? What if this was you on the other end? You know what I'm saying? So just that open dialogue can hold them accountable. But as far as like interpersonal relationships with me, I always hold my people accountable, no matter who you are. Young, old, whatever, you got to hold them accountable, period. What was the other question?
How do you create the safe space?
Open dialogue, just allowing them to be there. Like, allowing yourself to be there. I'm sorry, allowing yourself to be there with your ears open and not saying anything, But I grew up in a different dynamic. A lot of the men in my family have very little problems expressing themselves. And it's because our family was open like that, Specifically on my dad's side, my grandmother was like one of those open doors. You can go in and talk to her about literally anything. There's very little things that she would get mad about. So, that having those people in my life that, come from a position where they were able to fully express themselves, I just naturally am a person that you can express yourself to.
Right. Now, to kind of touch on a little bit everybody's thing, even for me, my grandma, right? She was that person. You could talk to her about everything. You didn't have to put any facade on. It could be raw and vulnerable. And I think that trying to find that in this generation is particularly difficult because of the concepts of the overly masculine woman, right? You constantly hear, I'll be feminine when you make me feminine, or this and that. And not everybody subscribes to the Bible and faith like that. But at no point did it say that you had to get this to be that. It said, let the elder women teach the younger women to be wives, right? To be in their femininity, so to speak. So it was never a do this, then this. And especially us as being brown people, we know that slavery is a thing. It was never easy, but it didn't prevent them from being feminine. These men were getting murdered on a daily. They didn't know if they were going to wake up and their husband was dead. Yeah, I mean, it was on the feeling of whatever master felt like, but it didn't
Can I ask
change
you a
the
question
dynamic.
though?
Yeah.
Okay, so nobody has been able to really explain this to me. What
Mhm.
if you can describe what a masculine female is? And I'm not talking about I'm talking about like tangible things, like
Mhm.
things that I can, not just the way that they think.
Mhm.
Like, tell me what a masculine female is, because I'm a bit confused by that
Okay.
term.
Okay. So think about it this way. You want a man to be vulnerable, right? As men, when we talk to each other, it's a level of vulnerability, but it's that, I don't want to say corrective energy, but it's this mentality of, as men, it's point A to point B. It's more, like you said, tangible, rational. How do you do this? When it comes to a man being vulnerable with a woman, it is that nurturing thing we look for. It's that the way you are presenting the information and it's being received, how are you now giving back what I just gave to you? Are you giving it to me in this I don't want to say stern way, but are you giving it to me without the emotion present? Because when men talk, we don't really do the emotion like that. When it comes to a woman and us being vulnerable, the emotionality of it is also what we look for, because we're always very analytical anyway for how we function. So for us being rational, we do go to women for the irrational, which is hey, I'm going to comfort you. This might not be the way you actually navigate it, but it's that balance, because obviously we know what we got to do, but we need that ability to walk through it sometimes. So when we talk about overly masculine, you constantly hear, well, I got to do what I got to do, and I'm going to be this. And you're presenting this aggression, so to speak. It's a level of aggression that, not saying that women don't hold equal balance, but if you're going to approach a man with that level of hostility, but then say, but I'm a woman. So it's asking, so what's a woman? If you want me to give you special privileges, but you want to be equal, you got to tell me where you lie in that too then. So
Because I'm still confused.
what do you mean?
I'm still confused though.
Why?
Because you're talking about met with emotion. We are
Mhm.
two different creatures. We
Right.
are when women are we use our emotions more than men do. That's why you can be literal with another man. But when a woman's involved, we go to that extent with a man, because if we want to talk in a biblical way, right?
Mhm.
Where a woman, the older woman is to teach the younger woman, right? We
Mhm.
are taught that we shouldn't have to speak that to you. You should know what it is that you need to do. So why are you coming to me to get that advice from me, when as a man, if you want to put yourself up there, if you want to
Mhm.
be the man, you should already know these things. That's how we as women most of the time look at that. Why is it that I have to reiterate over and over again what it is I need when I told you what it is, but you want me to explain it to you again or give it to you in a nurturing way? At that point, it's like, man, forget it. I'll do it myself. Like, I don't need no man. If you are not going to get it from jump, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where that open dialogue and stuff comes from. Right. If you know your woman, if you know that person that you're with, you
Mhm.
should already know what it is that she needs. So when women feel that our men are not taking into consideration all that, because you're closed off
Mhm.
emotionally to what's going on, it's like, well, what do I need you for if I can do this myself? So if that's what you're talking about as far as the masculine woman, then then I need you to be able to break the two in half. You can't come to me as a woman looking for that nurturing, but yet stern. You can't expect both from
Well,
me.
and
I'm a natural emotional person. My
Mhm.
emotions come first. So don't expect me to be very literal with you when that's how I'm programmed.
that's what I was saying. We don't look for your advice. We look for comfort. But also we can dig into the concept of the Willie Lynch letter. It talks about how to break down the culture, right? It put women on this pedestal that they didn't have to listen to men. It's a whole mental dissection to cause this division because women are gonna feminize the men, so the men are afraid to stand up for things. It's a generational breakdown, and it's
So
worked. It's worked. It's in function now.
so when we're speaking of terms, like I can't speak on a relationship,
Mhm.
but let me say this. When it comes to women being masculine these days, you
Mhm.
think about the emotional part of it, and then how in the past they were so nurturing and stuff like that. And guess what happened? They were taken advantage of. A lion is not going to see a little bunny and say, "Oh, it's cute, it's nurturing. Let me go and lay my head up under it." It's going to eat it. And that's what happened in the past, and that's what allowed a lot of things to happen.
So
No,
culturally,
like really think about the
well,
dynamic of the past and how like women were on the butt end of love. Yeah, we were emotional.
yes.
We're not talking about financial. We're not
Yeah,
talking about
no,
financial.
no, no,
We're
no.
talking about emotional.
Mhm.
Yeah, y'all are natural. Y'all are not emotional. So like we get the hard part of it. We get the, you know, anger when y'all out in the world and somebody shows y'all whatever, y'all get mad out in the world, y'all come back home and y'all bring it to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's not a new thing. That's thousands of
I
years in
know.
practice. So wait,
Exactly.
but you're not thousands of years old. So you can't,
Exactly.
but you can't reference that. Because now if we're going to take society and take a step back, you want that, right? So here's the thing. If men give it to women and you fail at it, fail at societal structure, and you come crying back and saying, well, it didn't work like this. We're emotional, we're this, we're that. We don't want to hear it then, right? You want to be in control, take control. But if it doesn't work, then what? If it does, we can succeed and say, hey, you know what? You did a thing. But if you don't succeed because you want this power, you want this position, right? You want to feel like,
So,
oh, we've been behind. Let's give it to you.
so what
Let me
I'm
be
saying
clear.
as
Let me.
this who we are today is a
Mhm.
result of what happened in the past.
No, well, hold
So
on.
it's not. Let me
What,
say something to what you just said. It's
go
not
ahead.
that we want it.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of women have had to adapt to the circumstances that we've been given. It's not that we want it.
So why
We
though?
don't want this.
But here's
It's
the
just
question.
this
Here's the
is what
question.
this is where it is,
Right.
and this is what we have to deal with. And really it was our grandparents and our parents, and so they this later instilled it in us.
But
And now
systemically,
it's called masculinity.
but
You
think
know,
about it. Systemically, though, we've been emasculated. Look at everything that's occurred in the urban community. Because I'll say this, I've dated outside of my culture. I've had a better time there than here.
traitor.
I'm okay with that. I'll trade. You know why? I'd rather have peace of mind. I'd rather have peace of mind. And it sounds
Really?
horrible. Listen, it sounds horrible. I'm pro-black all
Really?
day. I love it. But listen, I've been
Dr.
there.
Umar would not
Peace of mind?
approve
Because
of
I've
this.
seen some crazy people that are outside of
Listen,
our
absolutely. And I'm
culture.
Dr.
not,
Umar, he
listen,
would not like this.
I'm not saying that we're a monolith. I'm not saying that all black women are this, all black men are this. No, I would never give that blanket thing. But what I'm saying is the mentality behind a lot of what we deal with isn't as prevalent in other cultures. And that's the problem. If we take a step back and go, hey, they don't feel oppressed because men tell them what to do, they're okay
Do
with
they?
it.
They haven't been through, and y'all have.
Do they though?
I'm sorry. I got a question for y'all after this, because I'm starting to believe that black men lack empathy. That men in general lack empathy. I don't know if that is a trait that's needed to be the hunter.
Mhm.
and to be more masculine and tough and survival, whatever, I'm starting to believe that most men lack empathy and can never see themselves from a perspective of being in somebody else's shoes.
I can't say that for myself because you know what I do. I'm out here in the community. I'm helping. I understand what it means to be up and down. So I get it. I have daughters as well. So
But if you think on a broad spectrum,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The broader stroke of it all, it does sometimes come out like that. Now, I'll give you instances. I have other friends and acquaintances who are, when we talk about that masculine space, it is the, end all be all, the buck stops here. There is no leeway. They don't try to look at things from the perspective all around. I had this conversation earlier about leadership, right? A good leader knows how to use his teammates, right? So you have to know the strengths and weaknesses of everybody. You want everybody to be able to thrive in what they're best at. That's a viewpoint of a good leader. But you have dictators as well, who are leaders, but it is my way, this way, and if it works, great, it succeeds. But if it doesn't, then that's where you get the tantrums and these other things because they're so used to their train of thought being successful. But a real leader is able to evolve and understand. So you're right. A lot of people do lack empathy, but it's on both sides.
Yeah, not to say that women don't, but I'm just saying as a tendency, as a characteristic, it seems it's more of a characteristic of men to lack empathy.
Well, ask yourself
and
why.
I don't know. It's just my own thing that I'm starting to assess.
But ask yourself why. Like you referenced it and said that, is it because they had to be the hunters? They had to do these things. Well, sometimes to do or make the right decision, you have to remove your emotions, right? If survival was based on, it's an extreme, to unalive a child so that, just hear me out, to unalive a child to preserve the greater good. A man is not going to go, but it's a child. It's like, listen, there's a million people. This is one. This one has to go. And they're not going to struggle with making sure that the million other people survive because of one. That one is going to be moved.
I think, yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm starting to get annoyed by the idea that men don't have or express emotion. They are picky and choosy in what they express, but they feel emotion all the time. They express emotion all the time. They love expressing anger. Now, other emotions they may present as stoic, but you feel every bit of it when they respond. Like you ever watch a podcast or a show that make you mad every time, but
Absolutely.
you still be watching it to piss yourself off?
Yes.
I'm sorry. A lot of people are going to love this.
Or be looking in the comments for that one negative comment just so you can respond back.
Because you know this thing piss you off, but you be watching it all the time just because.
Yeah.
I'm checking in and clipping into Joe Budden podcast.
See, and I knew that's where you were going because I watched that clip and I was just like, Joey,
he grinds my gears. He grinds my gears. Like I can't, but I be watching.
Yes.
And I forgot why I even mentioned it because I just got upset just talking about it.
Because he was talking about the dude smashing behind the homies.
Yes, that's it. And he was getting emotional. He was yelling, he was screaming, he stood up, he threw something, he stormed off, and then he told his boy, you being emotional.
Right. That made me mad. I get that. Because Joe Budden is the epitome of an overly emotional, light-skinned human being, and he hurts my soul because now, me being several shades lighter, I got to deal with your nonsense because you can't control yourself, sir.
He making all light-skinned people look bad.
Yes.
But any last thoughts? Because I'm about to segue into our next topic.
Yes, I have a last thought. So I just want to say that, like, I think that with this topic, both and I'll speak from the female perspective. I think that certain men blame women for a lot of things that they don't take accountability for. And when it comes to, the societal of things, when it comes to like, men feeling like women can't do, or they're doing too much, or whatever the case may be, whatever goes through their mind. And this is my opinion, is that they don't want to hold themselves accountable for some things, and that is their trauma or what they're going through. But it's easier to blame a woman for, because when you were talking about, Chris, when you were talking about dating outside your race, and that you got peace there versus here, instead of looking at why you don't have peace, like on the inside of you, and kind of pushing it outward. I've listen, I can go all night on this topic, and most people won't like me when it comes to this topic. So I tend to keep my mouth shut. But that was my last thought. Sometimes we gotta look inward and see why our own peace isn't working versus
Absolutely.
pushing.
See, I didn't want to go on a spiritual note because I'll jump off the edge. But you said it.
Yeah.
And we need to be more empathetic.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
If we want people to have empathy for us, we have to have empathy for other people too.
Yes. That's what I said. It's about recognizing the strengths and weaknesses. You got to do
exactly.
it. And again, you got to examine yourself. Like you said, it is finding that peace first and foremost as well. Go ahead.
And we both hold masculine and feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's knowing when to
learn
use
the balance.
it. Exactly. It's knowing when to use it.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Not everything needs to be an altercation or a fight or what is it? A power
struggle.
Yes.
Power struggle.
You have to know when to use this energy. And it just, even if you go biblically, it's strengths and weaknesses. My strengths are your weaknesses.
You have to learn how to dance with people.
Yes, it's harmony.
You have to learn how to dance.
Yes, harmony. You have to wax and wane and do it, but you can't always be on the defensive. And a lot of times, people in relationships function on the defense, and it's what am I not doing good enough? Oh, well, you're not this, and they project. Like everybody was saying, there are projection exchanges, and we have to stop projecting. Communication is key, and honesty is key. But you don't have to fill a void that maybe you did your whole life. It's okay to put that down. So if women want men to be vulnerable, you also got to drop that guard. I'm not him. I didn't do what he did to you. I'm here showing you that I'm different. So don't hold me to his mistakes. Like you don't want me to hold you to hers. So like you said, every time you encounter somebody, you have to take them for who they are individually. Nobody is a monolith. You have to be able to discern between each person individually.
And part of that too is doing the work.
Yes.
Because a lot of us have trauma and experiences that we have not unpacked. And then we go into relationships and we're taking it into the next relationship and taking it into the next relationship. And then that's where a lot of that
comes from. And then we're adding on trauma to the trauma we already have and taking it to the next relationship, thinking that next relationship is going to solve all of it. And it's not, because only you can solve it.
Because you should have been in therapy or doing some internal work.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Speaking of this, I guess this is look. Meg Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj.
Oh God, I was hoping you ain't talk on that.
I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming.
What do we think about the battle between these ladies? What do we think about the songs? What is our thoughts?
She
Megan definitely went hard.
She ratchet.
I don't want to get canceled by the Barbs nor attacked for my opinion.
Are you a Barb?
Ladies, like, why can't we just?
No, I said I don't want to be attacked by the Barbs. I don't want them problems. But I mean, look, listen. I'm all for rapidy rap. I love lyrics. I love artistry. Nicki's song was trash to me. I'm just being honest. I listened to it. I tried to be like, all right, I was hoping for it because she's about her pen game, right? All right, all my cool, right. I was hoping, all right, let's see Nicki. Now, I'll take it. I forget her name, but this is when Nicki first came out. It was another New York rapper, and they had that little beef for a second. The other girl was better than Nicki even then. So I mean, that was what, 10 years ago? So Nicki has always had the support of certain things, but with this, it was just corny. Yeah, I mean, Nicki was more pressed over the Megan's Law line than anything. The rest of what
should be.
But is it facts?
That line will go down in history.
But
that bar will go down in history.
Mhm.
And so
I'm a Meg fan. I can't really say I am a Nicki fan. There are a couple songs that I like, but I've been over Nicki for a very long time. I'm tired of her toxicity. I'm tired of her hating on these younger girls. Like,
And the older
Meg
ones.
is all
So
of
Let's
20.
not forget about the beef with Lil Kim.
Right.
And Remy.
And I feel like, I feel like she got her karma from that Lil Kim shit stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Say what you say,
I'm
girl.
sorry.
Do what you do.
That's just my opinion.
I never liked Nicki though. I thought Nicki was always, to me, she just comes off as very jealous and bitter.
Miserable.
And it's like, yeah, like all the time. Like you should have known when you married that man that you was going to catch bars. You knew that. So what are you mad for? Like, you married him. Nobody else, but then don't be mad when people spit bars at you about it. Like,
and
I'm
it's the rap
sorry.
game.
Like,
everything is fair game at this point.
right.
Like,
Is it
people
Everything that
talk
goes
about
on in
people
your
all
life.
day, every day.
Is everything fair game? Like, when we
Listen.
talk about, because the whole your dead mom thing is cringy.
Yeah, now that's off limits though.
Well, no, hold on. If we're gonna talk rap, remember, I'm gonna hate to say it, but it was a man's game, and nothing was off the table.
You're right.
When it was battle rap,
but should it be?
Grandma, listen. Here's the thing: we talking equality. You want to come into the game? These are the rules. You don't get to come in and change it because you're more sensitive.
Look, not every woman is calling, just because a couple women said they want equality, don't mean that every woman is held to that. I want equity.
There you go.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying the
I want equity and equality, honey.
I don't want to take the trash out. He can do that. I don't want
I'm not about to be fixing nobody's toilet. Listen.
Thank you if you do it, but it doesn't mean that my hands are not capable.
Capable, but I don't want to.
I can do a lot of stuff. I just won't.
Well, I'm just saying, with hip hop, with rap, it was always a male dominated sport. But again, you had the Queen Latifahs, you had the Moni Loves, you had the MC Lights. So don't think that lyrically they were on par all day, but understand the sparring. Roxanne Shante going up against who was it? It was a group, all dudes. She went at them because they went at her. So she went into the battle with it. She didn't back down. So again, if you're gonna come into it, understand this is a sparring match. We fight in this space. Words hurt, but are you a better lyricist? If you can't get in the ring, stop trying to box. Stay over there and be in your lane. And I want to say, even when you think about Nicki, I liked Nicki pre-plastic surgery. I'm sorry, it's facts. You can look it up. She looked different. She was a little darker.
I agree.
Her butt was way flatter, but her authenticity felt real. She was about the music when you first listen to old Nicki mixtapes. So I respect it, but I respect growth. But when she became more superficial in her lyricism, you lose it because you're inauthentic now. It's not right. It's not this thing. Because one of the favorite verses ever was on Kanye West Monster. Like, she bodied everybody. Jay was on it. Kanye's on it. Ross is on it. Like, she showed up and showed out with that. So you can't tell me that you're not capable of being that lyricist, but you allow pettiness to get you. Yeah, when you talk about somebody's dead mama and things like that, you start to stretch because you're not doing it in. It's never going to be tasteful, but you're not doing it in a crafty way. You're doing it just for shock value. Now you're saying it like this because you couldn't put together this structure to be clever. The Megan's Law line was clever because she's Megan.
That bar.
Law, and your husband's a predator. So
I'm
you're
sorry.
Not even her
When people
husband.
talk about stuff that
It's her
people can't
husband and
control.
her brother.
Yeah, and her brother. You're right.
It's her
What?
husband. It's
Her
her
brother's a predator,
husband
too.
and her brother are under Megan's Law.
That's right.
Oh,
I forgot he
wow.
did that. I forgot he did that because she had to go to court for him. I remember.
Mhm. So yeah, that bar timeless.
The double entendre for real.
Oh,
I just look at it as like these, like Chris, you were saying earlier about checking these women.
Mhm.
Who checks them? Like, you know what I mean? You can't check them from our standpoint.
See,
And that's the problem that we
Yes.
have, because we have these young girls that look up to them
Mhm.
and they aren't doing right because they
Mhm.
just ratchet. Like, Megan has grown on me.
Mhm.
I mean, I still really don't care for that ratchet bull crap.
Right.
But Nikki, I'm just like, damn, girl, like, you always been bitter. Like, you
Mhm.
felt like nobody else could be in the game.
Right.
Like, that's not how it should be. Like, sis,
Mhm.
everybody can win, everybody can eat, but you act like you're the only one that can win and eat. Like, nah, that's not how that works. That's
Think
not how
about it.
life works.
Well, think
and
about it.
nobody's taking anything from Nicki Minaj. Like, why are you so threatened? Nobody's taking, like, you literally, I don't love you. I don't, but you have set a bar
Mhm.
and you have accomplishments that nobody can take from you. Not even the older rappers.
Right.
So why are you like, because I heard that this started because she got mad that Megan did a song with Cardi.
Cardi.
We
Yes.
don't know, gang.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
out here trying to eat.
Wait, but here's the thing.
Wait,
Wait, I
what?
thought that they was beefing too. I thought they beefed too.
Who?
Who?
Cardi and Nicki.
They did. That's
They
why.
did.
That's
So
why
why
when
are
Meg,
you mad? Like, then
because
why are
Meg
you
did-
mad?
because Meg did the song with Cardi, and
Nikki is the type, if you cool with me, you can't be cool with my
With them.
ops.
right. But here's the
Um,
crazy thing.
That
Music-
just sounds crazy to me.
But music
She
right
in her
now,
40s.
listen, but music right
That's
now
just
isn't even
wild.
what it was in the 90s for us. In the 90s, if somebody had beef, it was real. It wasn't on wax. It was, they actually shot at each other at one point. Now, you don't have that, right? And the sad part about female hip hop right now, and you hate to have that division, but it exists because if you look at the male dominated side, there might be beef, but we don't care. We don't fight like this, especially like think about Eminem. Eminem has gone at people because Benzino just made, I didn't even hear it yet, but Benzino went back at M and things like that. But our hip hop beef, it's there. We don't talk about it all the time. We go on and keep doing the music that we're doing. Nicki's whole existence is drama. Her last album, I'm sorry, I tried to listen to it when it dropped. It's trash. It is garbage.
I've heard a lot of people say it was great. I gotta listen to it.
For me,
I probably won't, because I'm just over her. I probably
Right.
won't.
Music is subjective though, so I get it. It just might not be my taste at this point, but I'm not feeling it. It's boring. It's uninspired. Hey, have at it though. I wish you nothing but success. But as an art connoisseur, I'm allowed to look at the art and critique it. The problem with Nicki is the second you critique her work, she is instantly throwing everything at you. Who are you to say this? I'm somebody who consumed your product. I didn't like your product. I'm allowed to tell you.
She
I
has
didn't
no
like your product.
emotional regulation.
No.
That's but allegedly she's on drugs.
She's been on drugs.
Oh,
She's been
for
on
real?
drugs. She's been on drugs.
They said she used the white stuff, right?
Yeah.
The powder.
Well, think about it. Lil Wayne. He is a walking dare campaign.
A lot of people in the
Like,
game actually use that stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, let's reference Puff and Mary J. They used to ride around New York, snort coke. That was what they did. That's documented. People talk about that.
And she's reached a level of stardom, like we mentioned, like Alicia mentioned earlier. Nobody can tell her no, and if you do tell her no, she's gonna get rid of you.
Yeah.
And so she's so toxic.
She's like a baby Puffy.
And that's how
Baby
Michael
Puff.
Jackson was too. Like they get rid of anybody that says anything that they don't like. Kanye West, if you say anything I don't like, if you check me, the people that could check you, they're not in your circle, they're not around.
Mm.
And you go
That
They
see
to me
want
people that
yes
just
they not
men
sounds
around.
around
like
them all the
nonsense.
time.
Right. They're gonna stop.
That to me
speaking
just
ill of
sounds like
Kanye.
nonsense.
It's
Like
toxic.
I just
It
don't
is.
understand how you cannot be checked. Like, you know, you gotta humble yourself.
Mhm.
And like you got people out here that, like, if you want, like, anymore, they're gearing their music and stuff to this younger generation that is all about that nonsense.
Mhm.
Us older, you know, mid-30s and above, we're like, man, it's time to grow the fuck up. Like
Right.
it's time to
Right.
grow up.
Right.
Like all of that bull crap that y'all got going on just don't make no sense.
Nope.
And like
Like
you're
y'all are
mad,
okay
like,
with being stagnant?
yeah, because she's
Because that's what it
literally like,
is.
it's very childish of her. You're upset and mad because somebody else is winning and eating.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but that's not the way that life works.
Mm-mm.
Like, you
Mm-mm.
have to be able to get over that. So, girl, you need some therapy or something because it just ain't working
Right.
for you no more.
Mhm.
But that's also why when we look at, even us on this podcast, right? Our perspective is that we are the voices that our parents were at a point, We have to tell the younger people, hey, this ain't it. It's not about being bitter old people because we're not old, but we're aware of what's going on. And all we're really trying to convey is, hey, pay attention to what you're doing. Yes, listen, chasing the bag is great, right? I understand it. But any other genre of music, they get into the field for the art, right? Because we've had to be reactionary in trying to overcome these obstacles, we look at ways to make money to change our situation and environment. So we're losing sight of the art form.
It's just
It's
black
all about
culture to
instant
me.
gratification.
Hmm?
It's all about instant gratification.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
I think it's more or less like it's black culture. Like we don't like to see the next win.
So
And
how
it's
do we
like
change that?
it's some of us.
How do we change that? How do we? And I get it. It's bigger than us, and there's so many moving parts. But where do we start to again? Change is gonna come. Sam Cooke said it. Change is gonna come. So what are we going to do to start
We
to?
have
It starts
examples.
from
Like you
within.
have to be that example. But you have to also be that example, right?
Right.
Like we can't be around here talking and preaching and saying that we want the next to win, but yet we're secretly wanting our brother to trip and fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? We have to show forth that
Mhm.
in our life, like, and show that these younger ones, like, we're here. Like, we want to see you
Mm-hmm.
win. Like, we want to see, like, when you win, I win.
Right.
Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's why it was really big when you see Michelle Obama and what's her name? Vice President. Can't say her name right this second.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala Harris. Like when they got together and she's like pointing at her, like, sis, if you win, I win.
Right.
Right? Like that's the type of stuff that these younger crowds and even like a Nikki needs to see. Like just because you win doesn't mean that nobody else can.
Right.
And like when one of my black sisters, when they win, we
Mhm.
win together.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting you on and I mean that genuinely. Like genuinely I want to see you win, not fighting
Exactly.
and having this animosity between each other because like I'm sorry, like black women, whether they like it or not, it's
Mhm.
statistically proven we are some of the most educated women in the world, but yet don't
Absolutely.
want nobody else to win at that. Like we're educated, we're thriving and moving, so let's continue to thrive and move, but we have to also change the narrative. We
Mm-hmm.
can't be the ones that always want to be, the minority in the room. Sis, let's go. I'm pulling you with me. I'm taking you with me. But preaching that same thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like I look at what's her name? What's that crazy girl's name? The one that's dating Blueface. I can't stand her.
Krishan.
Yeah. Yo, I can't with her because I want to take her and I want to hug her and I'll be like, sis, you deserve so much better. Like,
Right.
there's no way that you're going through something right now, and
Mhm.
a lot of it has to do with postpartum. But there's nobody in her corner to tell her that. Everybody else just want to laugh at her and egg her on to do the wrong thing.
And they're eating
But I
off her
feel
though. They're eating off it.
right, right. But that's where, us level-headed Black women need to come in and like really like, come here, sis, you need a hug. Like you
Mhm.
really need a hug. Come here.
Right.
Because I really feel for her, but
Mhm.
I also look at Nikki in the same light. Like, come here, sis, you need a hug. Cause what is wrong? Like,
But the
what
second
is
you pull
really
her, but
wrong?
the
You have a
second you
lot
pull
of
her in for
trauma
a
in
hug,
your
she's gonna
life.
try to stab you in the back. The second you pull her in for a hug, she's
But
gonna stab you in the back. Nikki, that's what
but
that's
what
what
I'm
she's
saying
done
is that
historically.
I understand that, but that doesn't mean that I still can't show that love to her. Like I
Absolutely.
still can't,
Absolutely.
like in that way. But sis got to grow up. Like
Mm-hmm.
she has to
She
grow up
does.
past all of that
She's
nonsense.
41 and
That's
Meg is
crazy.
28.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Ain't no way you
you
should
should
be
be
going
her
back and forth
mentor.
with her.
Now,
That's pathetic.
did you see? But did you
You should
see
be
the
her
Grammys?
mentor.
Did you see the Grammys last night
Yes,
at
I
all?
watched
Some of
I
okay.
watched the Grammys.
I didn't watch it.
So I didn't watch it all, but I watched some of the snippets. Did you see Jay-Z's acceptance speech?
I
Oh
didn't. I
Lord
I
have
needed
saw some
that.
of
mercy.
it.
I watched it live.
I saw some of it.
Made
Listen,
me feel uncomfortable.
he said what he said though.
He
I
did.
mean, again,
He did say what he said.
you want us to show up, but yet every time we show up, you give us your ass to kiss. We're here, we do the work, but you don't give us the fair shake. But also what he said was, a lot of you are here and a lot of you shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, forgive me, but I tell the truth when I get nervous. Because the problem
Yes.
is that a lot of these artists shouldn't be there. But the stupidity of the culture keeps perpetuating this level of stupidity. Somebody recently talked about it. I don't know if you ever saw it, but this movie called Idiocracy. I've seen it.
I didn't see it. I heard about it.
It's got Terry Crews in it and a couple other people. But it literally is the de-evolved construct of society. Like, there's a scene where there's just like a butt on the TV on the screen. It's a movie in theaters in this movie, and every now and then the butt does something, it farts and everything like that, and they're like, this is a critically acclaimed film. It's a butt on screen. That's it, right? We look at what we indulge in and how dumb it is. And again, I try to like Ice Spice too. I try to like, yay, Next Generation, but she got the song called Fart. Like, we're in a space where the creativity is on a preschool level and nobody's saying, maybe you want to learn your craft a little bit more. Maybe you should learn how words work.
It's not the creativity. It's the media and it being about money and being about agenda. And, there are there's other rappers out there. Rhapsody, shout out to Rhapsody. There's other rappers.
FREE
Yeah.
AFREE.
Right.
I'm like,
There are other
that's
It's hot.
stupid.
rappers out there who have something to say that is not out here talking about farts.
I mean, Killer Mike won 3 Grammys last night.
And they didn't show it.
Right.
So they're doing this on purpose.
And Killer Mike's been one of my favorite MCs for years. I mean, he's Dungeon Family, Purple City Ribbon Gang that Big Boy put together years ago. I mean, that whole thing. But also Cassinet had something to say about it because Mike won. And he's like, I don't even know who this dude is. And it's like, you're showing your age and how stupid you are. And dude, you're doing a disservice to your generation because you didn't take the time to understand who you're commenting on. Everybody wants clicks and views, but if you're going to be a reviewer, a host, how about you take your craft serious? And instead of speaking so ignorantly about the people who came before you, because if it wasn't for Killer Mike, you wouldn't have the platform you have. The MCs wouldn't be there. All these things, you're not even looking at what hip hop has created for you to have this space. And you can't even do the service of knowing what you're talking about. So yeah, the immaturity all around is played in, and Nikki plays it up. The barbs, the this, the that. You want to be so relevant, but you're not. And
it's time to shift. At 41, I feel like it's time
Right.
to, I mean, there's some things you still gonna want to do for fun every now and then, but at some
Right.
point, it's time to grow
You should
up.
have thought beyond your rap career. That's
Mhm.
what you should have thought of. What happened to the 15 minutes of fame speech? You only get 15 minutes of fame, so make sure
Mhm.
you enjoy it. So what's next after you rap? Like, are you going to be rapping at 50? Like,
Well,
come on.
she burnt those
Come
bridges
the
with
fuck on.
acting though. She burnt the bridges with acting. Her attitude is ugly. What
It's nasty.
studio is gonna back that? And she goes out here and does what she's doing with Meg. If there was a movie in the works with Nicki right now, like you said, with the dead
It
mom
would be
comment,
dropped.
that movie would be scrapped. That studio would panic because they're like, oh, you can't say that. Because here's the thing: the white contemporaries are gonna go, they might go see that movie, but now based off of what you just said, and now you're in the media, they're gonna see that. They're not going to go see that movie. They're not going to get a return on it. And you're going to be held liable. And honestly, the actors can get sued for stuff like that too, because their actions can tank the movie.
That
Mhm.
girl is toxic. She has nothing positive to
Mm-mm.
contribute. Just
Mm-mm.
she's going downhill fast. And I am kind of glad that this song flopped because
Mhm.
it's starting to shine a light finally on some of the other things that's going on outside the music.
Right.
Because same with how R. Kelly was Piper type. When the music is playing and the music is good, we're blinded sometimes
Mhm.
by what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
So, maybe, and I don't wish bad on her, but sometimes you got to break something down to build it back up. And
Right.
maybe this is the start of that, because even people who are barbs are being like, yo, she's dating somebody who she's dating a predator. Her brother's a predator. She's on drugs. She's erratic. She's coming at everybody. Like, they're starting to add everything up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And here's the thing:
And
even
every dog has his day.
and her even having kids now, well, a kid, that kid is gonna have to face the realization that your dad's a predator. Kids are cruel.
And
So
how does that work? Like, how
It's
does
his,
that work? Y'all live in the same house?
it's his kid.
You
I
can't
mean,
even be around.
They don't take them from their own kid.
no, unless there's accusations
Oh, okay.
from that. But yeah, no. But here's the thing: what is Nikki gonna do? Go to the school and be like, "We're gonna beat you up because you told my son that his father's a predator," which is the truth.
What he did, he did. From my understanding, he assaulted or was a part of a woman being assaulted when he was 15.
Yeah.
But Nikki had already dated him at that time. Her husband, allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, it's not even allegedly.
Oh, you're right.
He's convicted.
He is convicted.
I thought it wasn't. I thought it was something different.
What, he
Because
was
when
16
I
and she
read
was
in the one,
15 or
it said that
something?
he was dating an underage girl. He was like 18, she was like 15.
It could be more
Is
than
that what
one.
it was, John?
Yeah, it could be more.
Nicki Minaj's husband. Yeah.
He assaulted this woman, and Nikki and them tried to allegedly pay the woman off to keep her quiet and to never speak on it again. But he was a teenager when he assaulted her. But that story that you just said could be a thing too.
Right.
So
I don't know. I don't really, honestly, I don't even care. She's just so irrelevant to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's just like,
Same.
it'd be different if it'd be different if she was more humble and people were
Right.
coming at her in that light,
Right.
or she it'd be different. But half the time, I don't even feel bad that people are coming at her neck because she is just so disrespectful.
Yeah.
And it's
And
like
how many
you can
people
only
has
be
she come at?
disrespectful to people for so
Oh,
long.
everybody. Right.
Huh?
She said how many people did she come at?
So,
a ton.
Right. She comes for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. And then wonder why, like you wonder why your shit's going the way it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody's gonna keep putting up with that, and your fans is just gonna be by the wayside because it's like, except these younger ones because they love that toxicity. However, like us who grew up listening to Nicki, like I started liking Nicki when she was in Bedrock. I was like, oh, this song is nice. I like that song, right? There was a couple songs before that, but I was like, "Oh, she really killed it in that song." Like I loved it.
Mhm.
And, then I started listening to her a little bit more, but then like the more and more she came into media, heavy, like with her husband and then with Cardi and then
Mhm.
with, Kim and then now with like
Everybody.
Megan.
Mhm.
But like you were coming at other people in the industry because of your
Mhm.
husband. And it's like I don't know what you were expecting. Even if you were a normal human being and
Right.
you weren't this celebrity, people would still be talking trash. Like,
Mhm.
because that does not fit into the norms of society. Like, he
Right.
is at the bottom. Like, he could have killed 3 people and people would have not blinked an eye. Like, oh, okay,
Right.
whatever. It is what it is. But when you start messing with kids and you
Mhm.
start getting in that predator realm
Yep.
of things, people they have zero picks.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it don't matter who you are, they're coming for you.
Mhm.
That and dogs.
Yeah, they don't play about their dogs. We about to wrap up, but I do want to add in too. You know how they had to get more police to
Watch Meg's
protect
mom's
Megan's mom's
gravesite.
burial site.
Yeah.
Mm.
So she won't even like be
Why?
like, "Hey y'all, this is a rap beef. Like, we ain't doing that with somebody's
Mhm.
parent did." Like she won't even
Because
have enough integrity to say that.
Here's what I want to see happen though. And I think it'll be a wake-up call for it, right? Because you want to always mobilize the barbs to do stuff, right? Guess what? If the barbs do it, you get indicted on a RICO case. So let them do something in the name of Nikki. Guess what? You're aware. You Twitter, you engage with them, so they're aware that you have this gang, right? So guess what?
Mhm.
If the barbs mobilize and do something, I need Nikki to get indicted on a RICO case.
Good point.
I need it.
And I'm sure she got other stuff because she be paying people to
Yup.
attack people, follow people allegedly. I've heard all kind of rumors like that.
Right.
So
that's just some petty, like,
It is.
childish kid shit. Like, you know what? Come for me.
Mhm.
Come on.
Right.
Meg gonna
Come
be
on.
on the other end of another case.
Look, you gonna have Cardi out there. Money. I'm about that money.
Right.
And Meg gonna be like, give me that money. Because again, she can get her for all kinds of stuff now. So go for it, Nikki. Do it. Mobilize the barbs. Mobilize. Go for it. I hope that your pockets are long enough because you about to pay some things. Instead of you keeping it on record and being this, you in your emotions, you in your feelings. Maybe this genre ain't for you no more. Yeah, I mean,
Everybody ain't built out for battle rap. A lot of times battle rappers are good at battle rapping and whatever, and then it's a whole different skill to create a song. And we know Nikki can create a song, but girl, that ain't your lane.
Mhm.
You should have just ignored it.
Right. Well, give it the Jay-Z effect, right? What Jay always say, if you ain't bothering me, I'm not even gonna respond to you. But then when he do respond, he's like, Jay's funny with it now because he took his time. He was methodical. He laughed at the small people. And when it was time for him to release an album, he gave you this song or this body of work that touched on some of the things that happened, but he's unbothered and he's still paid by it. Nikki is not that creative to take a step back and go, let me put this in the music. If everybody's saying my music is this, let me focus on the craft and be worthy of album of the year or any other accolade that she could possibly get. But clearly we see that Nikki has some good songs and some moments, but Nikki has never won a Grammy.
And I know that got under because Meg has won.
Yeah. Is it one or two?
I think it's more than one. I know that. And Meg, I know that got under.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, shoot, that would have gotten under my skin. Here this Nikki coming in winning Grammys.
I mean, but you
Didn't Cardi win one?
You the queen, right? But you ain't got no Grammys.
So anyway,
yeah,
we wrapping up. Anybody got any final thoughts before we get off tonight?
Nikki need to grow up.
No, Nikki needs to grow up.
I second that one.
Meg is young.
That's what she said.
I
She
thought
said,
Nikki.
yeah, she said Nikki needs to grow up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen. Culturally, everybody needs to take a step back because a lot of people are in this childish headspace, right? Everybody's overly sensitive. Nobody's able to have real conversations. We got to get back into a space where satire can exist again. And, there's so many levels of things that we need to be able to talk about with somebody not getting offended. Because, we talked about communication, but how can you communicate if I do give you correction, you're in your feelings because you don't think I should be able to do that. But nobody else in your sphere, your echo chamber, is holding you accountable. So you're mad that someone is shining that light on your immaturity. We have to get to a space where we can talk about everything and joke on things that we used to and just be honest and transparent. But if we don't get back to that space, you see what it's doing to the culture. Period. It's destroying that ability to have honest, earnest conversation.
And I want to get back to a space where you could see a balance of personality,
yes,
and body types and whatever. Like everybody's starting to look the same. It's starting to be,
and if you don't look the same, you getting
plastic surgery, or you getting plastic surgery. This goes back to what we talked about in the beginning.
We used to have the Vanessa Huxtable. We used to have like it was different people with different personalities out there that you could be. When we were growing up, we saw Brandy. We also saw Little Kim. But we also saw Queen Latifah, and we saw different types of Black women that were out and put in the forefront. And I want to see a balance of that again.
And choose who we wanted to be like, Yep. Like TLC. In one group, it was different. You know what I'm saying? Different personalities that we can pick out, and different, aesthetics. Like everything about them was different.
But that's music across the board too. Entertainment, music,
sexy,
because
cool.
I mean, think about it. We had Common, we had Mos Def, Talib Kweli. Then we had DMX though. You know what I mean? We had Master P. We had Trick. We had Pastor Troy. We had Petey Pablo. But then you had your Pox. You had your Spice Ones. You had so the diversity was there. Nobody sounded the same, and everything now is trap culture and uninventive and just very stale and stagnant across all sides.
And if we're honest, as much as I do like trap music, too much of it has been there. I can't speak. There's way too much of it.
Yes.
And we are being consumed, and it's really becoming a detriment to our culture.
Yes. What happened
it's not
to
authentic
the love
anymore.
Songs?
That too.
What happened to the love song?
There are no love songs hardly.
Right, you talk about shaking your ass and big titties, and
nobody's begging no more.
Wait,
the
not
love
even
songs, the sex
I
songs
know,
now.
right?
Hold on, not even that though. Look at the female side of hip hop, right? This is where you would think there would be more sensuality, more elegance to it, but they over sexualize themselves. So we used to talk about the misogyny from 2 Live Crew and all this other stuff, but women themselves have control of their bodies of work. And what do they degrade themselves to? They literally marginalize themselves in the music that they're allowed to make.
But you know why? The gang life is in the forefront, and the sex life is in the forefront, because violence and sex sells. Period.
But we just said love songs sold. There is room.
They sold back in the day.
They can still sell, but mentally they've gotten so far removed
you're
from
right.
that space. It can come back. Listen, you act like we don't who we are right now. You can't tell me if somebody came out with like the smoothest just R&B album, like what's my man's name? D'Angelo. Voodoo? Come on, man.
I will say, as much as I don't like this person anymore, that P. Diddy Love album is hitting. There's 23 artists on that album. It's bringing back a mix of old school R&B and with a touch of new school. That P Diddy Love album is hitting right now. And shout out
I
to
would never know because I will cut my fucking ears off before I listen to anything from him again.
but it's
I'm
23
sorry,
artists.
I wasn't a big fan before all of this shit.
Oh, well,
Now
see,
it's
I
really
was bad boy. You know, I was.
Listen. Me and Sherelle have this fundamental distinction on how we view this. But I am huge on separating the artist from their work. The
It
person
depends. There's
from
levels
the
for
art.
me. There's
Listen,
levels.
I'm gonna still listen to R. Kelly.
Okay.
Listen to it with slightly different ears on certain songs, but I'm still gonna listen because the music, the artwork was still solid.
I don't want the sex. I'm cool off the sex songs.
Yeah, right. Because
Well, like the blatantly,
only
like
thing of R. Kelly's I'ma ever listen to again is "I Believe I Can Fly." The fuck?
I heard something not too long. I mean, remix to Ignition. I'd be like, you know,
Right.
you can't.
Wait a minute, hold on. I might have to listen to that because that was my shit.
See, that's what I'm saying. We got to get to a point where we can separate the two.
No,
Because think about it. How many authors? There are books that later on we found out that the author of those books were monsters. The book doesn't change. The content of that body of
but us
work is
supporting
still
the
good.
book and the music,
It's the same
Page
thing.
puts money in their motherfucking pockets.
And
We
the
gotta cut them
content
where it
can't be
matters.
created
We
off
gotta
of their
cut them off at
toxicity.
the fucking knees.
But wait.
The content can't be created off of they. You know, he wrote them songs about them kids. He used them kids for the.
I mean, he told you.
You can't tell us to separate it, and he ain't separated.
He told you he was a Pied Piper.
Let me ask you something though. Let me ask you something. Is it the same concept when it comes to porn though?
Huh? I'm not just watching porn. I don't watch porn.
I'm just saying, like, if you found out a porn star was doing something to kids, would you go back and watch their porn star videos?
First off, they're using the instrument. No, that's a completely different. Heck, you can't. That's not the same thing.
It's the same thing to me.
That is not the same thing.
It's the same thing to me. Fuck that shit. Especially with R. Kelly.
No, but I look at it. I look at it this way. Like, there's so many artists, and I love how in these conversations we always bring up Diddy and we bring up R. Kelly and numerous other rappers that have had these charges against them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we never bring up Michael. Ever. Because for me, I will always listen to Michael. Right. Always. There's not, like, without music, there is no Michael. Mm-hmm. Without Michael, there is no music.
Is it because he wasn't?
Well, was that your attempt of getting me to soften up? Because I will soften up for some Michael.
All right.
So I listen to one Diddy song, one R. Kelly song, because I ain't hearing nothing bad about Michael. I'm sorry, call me whatever you want.
This is what I'm saying though. Like, I love Michael, and I was able to separate the two. Also, some of the allegations were never founded, but I get it. But again, he was drugged through the mud.
No, man, we can't even. We've been saying that for years about Michael. We've been saying
Michael wasn't appropriate. We know that.
He wasn't.
We know
it was
that
absolutely
he done
problematic.
paid off so many of them kids. However, he was dealing with little kids.
Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance.
That makes it so.
All right, I'm guilty on that one.
See.
I'm guilty.
She mentioned Michael, and I recanted all my statements.
Exactly.
That music gets a playing, you forget everything they did.
That's all I'm saying.
Right,
separate.
But that's what I'm saying.
Separate.
Like but it's hard to like. And here's where I separate the two with Michael and Diddy and R. Kelly. Right. Mm-hmm. You know, I look at the content in which they did it. So Michael, I literally put he was a predator, but I also put him in the mindset that Michael was a little child himself.
He was a victim.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he never got.
Yeah.
Like,
R. Kelly was a victim too.
To study.
Stop it.
I would have loved to have studied Michael in his mind, like, and the way that he processed like a little child. Like, he literally. Like,
R. Kelly can't read.
Sherelle, don't even go there with me. So I look at R. Kelly and I look at R. Kelly and I look at Diddy and I look at, you know, the way that things were done. Like R. Kelly, like, you know, Michael was nurturing. He was looking for that love, where R. Kelly was pissing on people and kind of trying to dominate them, and was
He was
doing
a
things
predator.
to
He was
He
a
was
correct.
real,
He
real
was
literally a
predator.
predator.
Yeah.
correct. And same with Diddy, like, I don't care what anybody says, but I look at his mentality. I didn't like Diddy from when I watched his show. Like,
Oh,
Diddy fell off for
Mhm.
me after that.
Right.
Like, after I
I
watched his
never
show,
liked
I'm
him.
like,
It's
ooh,
something
he
about the
is
look in his
just
ass.
Yeah.
it wasn't even that. It was like the way that the way that he treated people. He
Mhm.
always treated people like they were all beneath him.
Yes.
Like, you know what I
hmm
mean? And I was like, I was like, I don't like the way that he thinks that he got power, money, and the keys to the city. Like, I don't like that shit. Like that's some whole other like stuff. But like
And
listening to their music and stuff, like
mhm.
for me with those two, it's more or less like they were seducing these
Mhm.
young kids to like do their dirty work,
Right.
like to fulfill something within them.
It's like
Like,
luring them.
Well, think
yeah,
grooming.
like grooming.
it is
They were
grooming.
Yep,
And the
grooming.
exactly.
intent, I guess
Well,
what you're trying to say is the intent behind it was different.
it was always
hmm
nefarious. Well, here's the thing.
Correct.
Give his track record. Think about it. With Biggie, he tried to get this guy out the streets, and he's like, all right, I can be a big brother to you. And he had ulterior motives. Think about every successful
Correct.
artist on Bad Boy: Craig Mack, Loon, Black Rob, The Locks, right? Literally, he kept Mace. Mace famously said it. You kept my publishing for what? I wanted to do this. You wouldn't let me go. The Locks. You kept our publishing. Jada Kiss recently even said, dude, we were going to come to your office. We wanted this. You kept playing with us. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, he's like, oh, don't let's not play tough guys. He's like, dude, I'm playing with you. We've done this. Like, we'll come to the office. And you see that the people that Diddy can manipulate and do a thing to, he does. Again, Craig Mack died broke. Black Rob died broke. All these people that were on Bad Boy, even take Shine. Shine spent what, 8 years in jail, in prison for the J-Lo shooting that he literally didn't do. Diddy shot. And what? Shine said, all right, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, I'm built for whatever. I'll take the case. I'll take the charge, because he expected Diddy to be a solid stand-up person and make sure everything was taken care of.
Mhm.
But it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, you see how Diddy has manipulated his way into the positions he's in. I mean, and I hate
Yep.
to say it too, because I mean, I love Uncle Rush. Yeah, I mean, but because I think that the Def Jam story is so important, and it is integral to Black music and culture and all that. But Def Jam, Russell Simmons is a predator too.
There's a whole lot of them. I'm
Mhm.
interested to see who the next. Well, I was gonna say I'm interested to see who's gonna be the next one to come out, but Trey Songz is looking sketchier and sketchier as time goes by, with a lot of predatory situations.
But I want to preface this: we can't keep just looking at the Black moguls, because there is somebody who is above them or adjacent to them who has done 10 times worse. And the Epstein stuff kind of proves it too.
I just think we don't know about those ones as much.
We don't. And what they do is they throw, again, fodder. It's who is
The little
expendable.
pebbles.
Right. These people are expendable. Diddy's expendable. Kelly's
If
expendable.
I can deflect over here,
Yep.
You
right?
won't see
They
what's really
deflect.
going on over here.
Exactly. So think
Right?
how
They
scary that
deflect.
really is.
Like all these men in power. Look at all
So
these men in power, black, white, or
But
alike.
here's what I want to say too, though. It's not just the men. It's also, and me and Sherelle talked about it. Women have been super predatory, but it's looked at different. I know for me as a boy, I mean, if I was able to smash my teacher in high school, I'm not telling nobody, and it's like it's cool points. Like, yeah, I'll smash my teacher. For boys, it's different, but it's still grooming, because she's still taking advantage of that space, knowing that, hey, his hormones are here. He wants this. It's this prime virile, time in a man's life, and you get to manipulate that. Because we do look at it as a
See,
conquest.
I look at things different when it comes to men versus women, when women are grooming versus when men are. I look at it completely different. I look at it as, this goes back to what we say about women being nurturers and like, wanting to nurture, and they see this young boy in need of something, or in want of something. So, if you look at the relationships that have been presented to us in these realms of, women being the predator in this, typically it always ends in a relationship. It always, most of the time, it ends in the relationship. Just like that one teacher that was with that 13-year-old boy and had all them kids.
And they eventually
While
got
she
married.
was in jail, right? While she was in jail, she was still reaching out to him and wanted to be with him. She was in love with him, and they ended up being married. They got married, and they were living together until they got divorced a couple years ago. But most of those stories of when women are with these young boys, it always leans into a relationship.
So,
With men that groom these young girls, it's a sexual thing. That it's literally an attraction thing. I'm attracted to you. I'm attracted to what your body, what you're showing. I'm lusting after that. And once I get it, they go ghost.
but
That's why
wait,
typically
Or
women don't.
they
let me
pimp them out.
but let me ask you this
Yeah,
question.
I
Let me
think
ask
the
you this.
right.
relationship thing
I was gonna
might
say
be
it.
more savage.
Right, because here's the thing. You're preying on a young man's emotional state. Because now it's emotional manipulation. As men, you know what it is. It's carnal, it's physical. We want your body because it's like that. You're
Well,
going for
with the men,
somebody.
it's still emotional too.
Right.
Physical
Yeah,
and
they
emotional.
emotionally manipulate them.
You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
I love you, baby. If
Right.
you just do this one thing for
but
me,
think about the young boys. It's the same thing, especially if they don't
it
get that
is.
level of comfort and care at home, that attention. They're easier prey because now I'm grooming
Y'all
them
don't
mentally.
watch enough ID channel, because I watch a lot of ID channel, and a lot of these stories have presented on here. And that's all I know, because I don't know no real life predators. However, like what I'm saying
Alicia.
is I watch these shows and I watch how, what I mean? Like it is emotionally preyed on. However, if that man decides, or that boy, because he's a boy, once that boy leaves, the woman still obsesses over him just as much as she would obsess over a grown man. So it is more emotionally involved. However, that young boy is still uh grown to be a man. He still has that same mentality of, okay, I got what I wanted from you. Now I'm gonna move on. And it's the same mentalities. However, I'm not saying neither is good. I don't condone either
Oh
way.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Right,
I
right.
don't
Let's
condone
preface
either
that. No
way.
one
But what I'm
condones
saying
this.
is
Right.
either way. However, what I'm saying is I'm showing the different ways of how it's presented, and why when women are predators in that way is because it's looked at like that emotional side of wanting to, like, connect with this person, even though they're not mentally ready for that connection that they should have. However, with men, there is a different perspective to it, and saying that, like, you know most men predators that are that way, it's not just one, it's multiple. Where with women, it's typically just that one. They don't typically prey on more than that one, because they have emotionally attached themselves to them. Where men, it seems to be a repetitive thing. Oh, I like that 15-year-old girl, so now I'm attracted to 15-year-old girls, and I want another 15-year-old girl. I want a body like this, or I want them looking like this. It's habitual. It keeps going in that realm. I'm not saying that women aren't the exception to that rule. However, it's more common for that woman who is the predator to be attached to just that one versus men.
Right. Now, even in the entertainment industry, you have some of these higher up execs. I mean, because Terry Crews touched on it years ago with the males trying to do stuff, but you have females in those positions who these young aspiring actors are trying to do a thing, and they're taking advantage of that, because if you don't do this, then I'm not going to move your career forward too. So I mean, those aren't pair bonding moments. That's still manipulation on a whole new level, because she has this level of power. And again, as a grown man, an entertainment executive offering you favors, you're not necessarily going to turn it down. So they can, you can easily fight that in court to say, well, he wanted it. You hear that.
You're staying outside.
Huh? You said it on the flip side too. You hear it
Sorry,
where.
I on my dog.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. You hear it where, a man will say, well, she wanted it, right? That same thing can be used against a man because men are looked at like that, right? We're looked at carnally, like, now he wanted that. Why do you think men don't report being R-worded by women? Because the mentality behind it is was it really? And it's like, dude, I didn't want it. She forced whatever on me, in me, things like that. It's like, how do you?
It is less believable.
And it's not fair though. That's not
no,
fair.
It's not.
So again, because women, a lot of times they said men don't have standards, but if we do have a standard and we don't want to smash that person and we say no, and she could be gorgeous, who's going to believe that you didn't really want to do it, right? Why is our moral compass questioned when things happen to us, when we're trying to be honest? So it goes back to what we said. Where can men be honest about anything? Societally, we have been limited to what we can express even when we're uncomfortable and not all right with these situations.
True.
Can't hear you. Leash.
You gotta.
I'm sorry. You gotta look at it from this. The way I'm looking at it from that standpoint is this: is that men, like, with not being in that typical like vulnerable moment or whatnot, and being with a woman, like, it is culturally like looked at that way. However, with like women, when half the, I'm not gonna say half, oh forgive me, I ain't even gonna say it, but when some women do lie about being sexually assaulted, and it's like, what do we believe, what don't we believe? But with men being at a lower rate of that being reported or whatnot, it's looked at different, because it's almost like, well, if you don't want it, then what's wrong with you?
Right.
What's wrong with you?
We're
So,
villainized.
I feel for men in that way. Right. I do feel for men in that way, in the way of being, sexually assaulted, because that is a thing. It is a thing. And, I've watched it happen in the sense of, like, you're at a party and two people are drunk and he's like, oh, I'm going back here with him. And yeah, is he like saying yes in his body language? Yes. But can he mentally make that decision for himself? I don't know. But it's hard to question that.
But
it's hard to question to say if that's what he wants or not.
Well, here's the flip side to that. For historical purposes, if two consenting adults are intoxicated and they engage in intercourse, that man is still accountable if it proceeds and she wakes up the next day and says she didn't want it. But if they're both intoxicated, how am I more responsible for you? We both did a thing, but because you get to play this card, I'm now the predator. I'm now wrong. We were both inebriated. We both acted outside of our mental faculties, but you get to say, well, I didn't want it, so I have this ability to say that you're wrong. Yeah. How is that fair? How is that fair? You are two adults. As long as we're working with adults, we don't, can't bring kids in it because that's a whole different thing. But as long as you're two adults and you engage in this, you are just as accountable. You can't point fingers back across the aisle and say, well, I told him to stop. I didn't want this. I didn't this. When we're both intoxicated, why do I have to make sure you are? I'm not there.
There are definitely some very foul double standards.
Yes. But see, but you don't want to take away safeguards either, because then you do have those other predators who are absolutely going to take advantage of that. But you have to be able to have these clear conversations and say, listen, we need to investigate. If there's grounds for it, cool. But if it's just two adults and you have buyer's remorse and you're regretting it because you were drunk, and guess what?
Buyer's remorse?
Yeah.
So we got to wrap up. But I do want to say this, though. I think for men to have a more safe space to be vulnerable, I think it's going to be up to the men to allow themselves to be that way. Because men don't even allow themselves to be that way. They don't allow each other to be that way. It's always ripping, roasting, laughing, attacking.
But with men, that's what it is. That's
Men
why
don't.
women is so important. That's why women are so important, though. We
Yeah.
can allow it, but the women have to allow us that ease of comfort to come in to do it. If you're going
But y'all have to, we have to do that, absolutely. But I think it's going to take the men to start that, because y'all raise grown men, raise their boys, they're young, to not show emotion.
Can I interject this though? Look at Nikki and how she spits that venom and vitriol, right? So with Meg being close to her at one point, because she said she has more records. So that means that if her and Meg had these vulnerable conversations, Nikki is gearing up to use said information, right? So
this is a rap battle though. You can't bring that in there into this. Men have to be the ones, if they want a change, which we do too. We want a change. We want men to have safe spaces to be vulnerable. We want men to start working on their mental health. But I think it's going to take the men to take the lead of that.
And once they understand that this is something that they're doing for them and not for a woman to be able to be there for you, you gotta do it regardless for you to grow and heal.
And men have to be accountable to saying, "Hey, bro, man, let them talk." Like, "Oh, bro, yeah, you can tell me what's going on with you." Yeah,
right.
Because y'all don't have safe spaces. Like, y'all talk to each other, but when it comes to emotional stuff, y'all don't really allow each other to be emotional with one another without joking and laughing.
I got a core group of fellas that I'm able to kind of bounce that off with. Do we absolutely joke? For sure. You know, do we still kind of throw? Yeah, we're gonna do it. Like,
y'all ain't saying, bro, go to counseling, my dude.
Like you all soft over there. Look at you, emotional nigga. Emotional.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had a talk with a relative today. Like, you've had a lot of loss. Very close people have left, and maybe you should consider going to counseling. If you want something more focused, maybe grief counseling.
Right.
And that relative, he said, "I'll think about it." And I was like, okay.
It's difficult to open up those things, because here's the thing too, you got to think about it. There is a lack of follow-up. If a man is vulnerable and now he's exposed, who's there to actually help him walk through it? And that's the scary part, because we aren't emotional. We are more forceful. Like you said, we tend to, one emotion that we show is anger, right? But the anger is only the outlet for the frustration, because we don't know, or we're not even allowed to use the more melancholic or vulnerable emotional set, because when we go to do it, oh, you over there crying, quit crying, oh, you little mama's boy, this and that. And that can come from
give yourselves the permission.
Well, here's the thing, it can come from
we got to change that narrative.
Right. That's the thing. When a man does cry, a woman also can't go, "Oh, you'll cry, baby, shut up." So again, if he can't get it with the fellas and he can't get it with his woman, who is he going to get it with? He's trying to do it for himself. Listen, as a man, he
got to be willing to leave that woman too, though.
Oh, absolutely.
And those friends
on all levels.
And those friends.
But here's the thing. Look at culture right now. This is who these people are. It's become so far widespread that we are fighting amongst ourselves and in ourselves. We don't have enough people standing up and saying, "Hey, fellas, I'm giving you a safe space. Sisters, I'm giving you a safe space." And then allowing us to come together equally in reciprocity and working these things out. We do not do it.
And that's why I say it's going to take the men to stand up for the men.
Right.
We'll follow lead. If y'all are absolutely sure, don't you get off it. No. If y'all are absolutely sure and certain about something you gonna do, hands down, especially something positive, we won't have a choice but to follow.
But you saw the memes though. It's when a man follows, is she actually gonna when he leaves, is she actually gonna follow? Go ahead.
If you headed towards something positive and you standing 10 toes down on it, there will be women behind you.
Y'all like accountability. Go ahead.
See, y'all
Go
just
ahead.
want to lead us to the pits of hell sometimes, and we ain't going there.
We just ain't going to the pits of
Okay.
hell with y'all.
So, I
So
mean,
here's what I want.
Go ahead, Liz.
Here's what I want to say, right? And because I am one, and I will be the first to tell you, sometimes I absolutely man bash. And here's why. Because I look at it, what is the true problem? Like, why are we connecting the two of an independent woman wanting to be independent, wanting to do for herself and have her own, and being submissive to a man? Like, both can be true. And I think that a lot of men, they put us in one box. They feel that if you're independent, there's no way that she could be submissive, or there's no way that she can be. But why do us women who want to be independent have to submit to a man? Why can't we be partners? But men can't get off of their statue, their ego up top of wanting a woman to follow behind them and do for them and be there for them. And it's like, I can do both, but
this is about to turn into a whole nother podcast in itself.
I know, right?
I can see it.
But what I'm saying is if I can be, because like men get on their ego trips of women wanting to be independent. Yes, men get
It's
on their
absolutely
ego trips of
egotistical.
wanting to get on, to be independent in that realm. However, I can be independent, but doesn't mean that I necessarily have to follow after you. That does not mean I have to follow behind you. I could still be a partner with you and for you. However, it does not mean that I have to be some little puppy dog following behind you and everything that you want to do, because I am an individual. So in my individuality, I can still be a woman to you, and I can still give you those womanly things that you so desire from us without being a submissive. Because submissive to me, that's a trigger word, because I'm not submissive to nobody. I will partner with you and I will be there as a woman for you, but I'm not submitting to you. I don't submit to nobody but God. So
That's
is
not true.
no man.
That's not true.
There is no
What do
man
you
that
mean
I
it's not true?
submit to.
Well, I'll give it to you this way. If you say you're submitting to God,
Please.
scripturally it says you submit to your husband.
Pause.
That.
Pause. That's
I'm just saying.
That's if your husband is a Christian and your husband is following God.
Right.
Correct.
So
Right.
then you
give you that.
Yeah,
So
we gotta make sure we add all that in. We were submitting to your husband, who is a believer, who is a follower.
You are right.
Of
Absolutely.
Christ.
You're right. So this is what I'm saying though. So if you're a believer, you can't say that, because then it doesn't add up. Because here's the thing: if it goes God, Christ, man, woman, child, it doesn't go God, Christ, man, woman, child. It's in hierarchy. There's a way to
you know what I'm gonna say to you? This is what I'm gonna say to you, and this is all I'm gonna say. Esther. That's it. That's all.
Wait, and he told her specifically to do a thing. So it does
What did he tell
show.
her?
Listen, we're gonna go into this. Isn't a Bible talk.
What did he tell her to do?
Listen,
We might have to pause this one, because I want to make sure that when we talk about this, it's balanced, because we don't have another male on here too. We might have to put a pin in this conversation, and because this one can go an hour in itself.
It really can. It really.
So let's make sure we put a pin in this one.
All right.
Get
And
this
I'm
up
gonna
for
step out of that conversation because that's a real sore, sensitive spot for me.
Right.
This is how I feel. I feel like, a lot of people want women to put their life on hold, but who are you to interrupt what God got in store for my life? If God is telling me to be exactly who he wants me to be, and you're telling me, you got to stay at home and do for me, it's going to be a direct conflict.
That's the thing. I never look at it like that. You're right. I never look at it like that. For me, if God is telling you to do something, submission and ambition are two different things, right? Knowing how to be that person, because you can't have two captains, right? If we're on a boat and you're steering a ship, you can't go, well, I want to go over here and do that. That's not how that works. So when you have this conversation and you have ambition,
so who's steering the boat?
going this way. The man is in control of the ship. We're just it is what it is. but the shit is going this way. And yes, you have privilege to go and aspire to your ambitions. No man should stunt that, but you have to know who you answer to, because here's the thing, and it can go into another podcast later, but when you think
It's gonna have to, because we at 9 o'clock now.
I know, when you think about Adam and Eve, right? Adam was still accountable for Eve's mistake. God said to him, "What did I tell you?" So here's the thing. His job was to tell her.
Time out. Wait,
Her
can I just
still
ask you a
fell
question?
on
What
him.
did you just say? Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? You
Oh,
said
the account.
Adam was responsible for Eve's mistake.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh,
You know why?
Sherelle,
Because
when we gonna do this podcast?
We gonna be back March, in the first week of March.
Because
I'll be
I could
watching.
have swore that the
I'll be
commandment was
watching,
given
y'all.
to Adam and not to Eve. When Eve ate, she was not in sin. But when Adam ate, because the commandment was given to Adam, not Eve, that's when he surely died. That's when the world was put in sin, because the man ate. Eve did not commit no sin. Adam committed the sin by eating.
Well, we're going to do our research, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk this out.
Ma'am.
We got to talk about submission, obedience, and the man leading. That's going to be in our next podcast.
I got you.
We had fun tonight.
Y'all from the other
Don't make
side
me
of the
pull my
screen.
Bible.
You're enjoying us in, girl.
I got mine right here.
But I want to have a balanced conversation. I want to make sure I have another man on here with this one, because it's important, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Sakina for joining us tonight. She don't want no part to that last conversation.
Nope.
Shout out to Alicia.
Have enough conversations about that.
Right. Shout out to Alicia.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris.
Always.
And it's your girl Sherelle Unique here. This is the 30s perspective, and we out.